Everyone, I'm Rejoice on Umatta Consultant Podcast today. Today we have the special privilege of speaking with Lisa. Lisa is the founder. She's also a certified career strategist, a certified organizational coach, and a personal branding consultant at the We Apply. I would love for her to introduce herself as she sees fit, and then we'll dive right into the questions. Lisa, the mic is yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Rejoice, for having me. Yes, I'm Lisa Apia, and I'm the founder of We Apply, and we work with individuals, helping them to elevate their careers by understanding their strengths. So we help professionals who are looking to make a career transition or land their first leadership role. And a lot of our clients tend to be introverts. We also work with organizations, facilitating workshops around personal branding, communications, team development, and also do corporate training.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. It sounds like you guys have your hands in many things, and we are excited to learn more about your journey and also what other people should expect in terms of working with you. Our first question for you: what inspired you to focus your career on helping introverts, as you mentioned, navigate their professional paths and stepping into leadership roles in particular?
Yeah, a lot of it has been based on my own story. I've always had an interest in career development, and I was always the person that people would reach out to help them with their resume. Even as a teenager, helping my parents land jobs, helping my older sister get career opportunities. So I just always had an interest in it, and I was good at it. I didn't necessarily know that it was a whole field that I could actually make into my own career. But eventually, as I learned about the field of career development and how to become a career development practitioner, I decided to start a nonprofit organization. So this was around 2012, and I hosted an annual event for young professionals, and it was also a mentorship program throughout the year. So that's kind of how things started off, and eventually I launched We Apply in 2020. The focus on introverts came based on as I was sharing content on LinkedIn and having conversations with my different clients. I realized that the people who are coming towards me obviously are similar to me because they're seeing my content, they're interested in what I have to offer. But I also realized that a lot of them were introverts and were struggling with that aspect in their career, even though it's not a limitation based on how the workspace and our work force is created. It often favors people who are more extroverted. So I started creating some content around that, and then decided to add that or even make that my niche as a business. So that's really what we focus on now.
Awesome. Awesome. I love your story. You just never know. It starts with a passion or helping others, and then it leads to discovery of how many people you can support. I love that you mentioned you're an introvert yourself. So, as an introvert, what challenges did you encounter in your leadership journey, and how did you overcome them? If you could give us some examples.
Yeah, a big thing for me is realizing that being that quiet person at work, as much as I was working on things, delivering results, I did experience getting overlooked and people assuming that I wasn't capable of doing certain things because I was more quiet. Public speaking being one of them. I remember there was an opportunity to present to an international delegation, and it was my lead, so it would have been something that I should have been chosen to do, but they chose another analyst to do it under the assumption that I was too quiet, I wasn't charismatic enough. And clearly, that's not true because, I get paid now to speak. And even at that time, I was running a whole nonprofit organization in addition to my career where I was speaking, and I had mentors that I was working with, like I had a whole, organization going on. So, delivering a 20-minute presentation wasn't that big of an issue. But the thing is, I had not intentionally built a brand or any awareness about what my skills, my strengths were. And so all they could go off of is what they saw, right? So I can't really blame them because ultimately what I had presented to them is I'm just that quiet person who just sits in the corner and does the work. So they saw me as, okay, you do the research and then somebody else will do the speaking. So that was an eye opener moment for me because that opportunity actually led to him getting a promotion, getting a lot of visibility. So it was an eye opener opportunity for me in terms of being more strategic about how I present my skills, how I present my strengths, and also being more willing to speak when necessary to advocate for myself.
Excellent, excellent. I think you said it very well. Advocating for yourself, it's extremely important at the workplace. And I'm actually also interested to learn from you. What strategies do you recommend for introverts to increase their visibility? I know you shared some from your journey and to impact their organizations and without also compromising their natural tendencies, right? So
Mhm.
just reaching that balance.
Yeah, I'd say there's no one size fits all. Like, as much as people may have a similar personality in the sense that they say that 50% of the population is introverted, but despite that, people are extremely different. The strengths that I may have as an introvert can be completely different compared to another introvert. And there are studies that have been done that have found that there are different types of introverts. So that being said, when I'm working with a client to help them understand what strengths they bring to the workplace, it's based on their personalized experience and based on their journey. So there are common strengths that obviously can be leveraged, but my advice to people is always try to understand yourself first. Like, that level of self-awareness is the most important thing, because going based off of somebody else's experience can motivate you and can be great, but you may not have the same strengths or the same, zone of genius as that person. So just taking the time to reflect back on your career. What were those moments that you really shined in your career? What are those things that bring you fulfillment in your career and your job? And just taking the time to analyze those things and understanding yourself will help you find out that, okay, I'm actually great at presenting, or I'm actually really good and I really enjoy listening and uncovering problems to derive solutions. Whatever it may be, based on that, you want to leverage that as a strength to start positioning yourself as that person who has that expertise. And I'll give another example of how I did this. So in my career, I was doing a job as it was a similar role, an analyst role, and there are many of us who are doing that role. And I wanted to position myself for a promotion. And so what I did is I was intentional about listening to find out what are the issues at work, what are the problems that are happening. And often I would hear the more senior analysts talking about corporate reporting and how it wasn't something that they enjoyed doing, although it's something that we needed to do. And so that was a cue for me that, okay, let me find out what this corporate reporting thing is all about. So I positioned myself as that person, built my expertise around corporate reporting. When they were going to the meeting, some people would say, "Oh, I don't feel like going to that meeting." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I can go." And it's in building my expertise around corporate reporting through my listening skills, leveraging the strengths that I have as an introvert through my listening skills, that I was able to go to one of these meetings. And there was an executive who was building a new team. And he was like, "Oh, we're looking for people with your expertise." And so I applied for that role and I landed a promotion. And that was one of 5 promotions that I landed in less than 8 years. So it does make a difference when you are intentional about understanding yourself and understanding the strengths that you have, and then seeing what need is there in my organization for the strengths and the value that I can offer.
Awesome, awesome. I love that. As you were speaking, one thing I was thinking about a book I read a couple of years ago, which was called Strength Finders. I'm not sure if you're
Oh, I've
familiar
heard
with
of
it.
it, but I haven't read it. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So that aligned very well with what you're saying. Also, public speaking, as you know, is often significantly a huddle for introverts or anyone in general. To be
Yes, it's
honest
true.
with you, everyone gets a little bit of a tummy um, tuckle. What techniques can introverts or introvert leaders use to overcome or become more comfortable or effective in their public speaking engagements?
Yeah, public speaking, they say that it's the number one fear that people have. So this is not even based on personality, whether you're an introvert, extrovert, or somewhere in between. It seems like it's something that a lot of people do not like, but it is something that is necessary and part of our workplaces. So a couple of tips in terms of how you can improve your public speaking. Something that I often do with my clients is I encourage them to record themselves. So really just pull out your phone and present, speak, hear your tone of voice, hear how you are articulating the words, look at your body language, your presence. What do you look like? And often when they have that opportunity to actually see themselves and what they look like, they are able to better understand, okay, this is how I would be if I was in front of people. And then gradually making adjustments where you want to improve and where you want to change things. Another thing that can be done is also getting comfortable in smaller settings. A lot of times people are like, okay, they have a fear of public speaking, but then for some people it does work. They just throw themselves into, I'm going to go on the stage and speak to 100 people. I'm that kind of person that I just do it. And then once it's done, I'm like, okay, this is not a big deal. But not everybody is like that. So if you're that kind of person that you do need a bit of a transition, start small, start in front of a smaller group, get comfortable being able to share your ideas, being comfortable to actually share your thoughts and articulate them in a way that makes sense. So once you get to that point, then it also gives you that comfort and that understanding that I do have value to offer. What I'm saying does contribute to the overall conversation, and then you can kind of grow to get more comfortable to speak in meetings or to speak on a stage in front of more people. So there are obviously other techniques that can be implemented, but those would be like two that I would share that I know has worked for my clients in just easing themselves into being able to speak in public.
Exactly, exactly. Excellent points on those things. Practice always makes perfect, regardless of your
Exactly. Yeah.
personality. It's just
Yeah.
the more you're doing it, it just becomes second nature.
Yeah.
And I love that you do that for your clients to perfect the skill of speaking. What common misconceptions do you think organizations have about introvert employees, and how do you address them, or in your mind, how do you offer ideas for them to make the workplace more inclusive with their leadership development programs?
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of misconceptions around people who are quieter or introverted. There was a study that found that 65% of senior executives said that introverts didn't make good leaders, and partly because of their more quieter nature. And so, if a study's already been done at that level, demonstrating that they think introverts don't make good leaders, it's going to reflect in the organization, where the people who will get the promotions will tend to be the people who are the loudest. The people who will be the leaders are the ones who are more charismatic. And so that is a bias or a misconception that exists, that people who are quieter aren't necessarily leadership material. So that's a big one that I often see. I think another thing is that there's an assumption that because people are introverted, that they're shy, but they're two completely different things. Being an introvert, it's based on energy. Like, how do you gain energy? A lot of introverts gain their energy through solitude, whereas extroverts tend to gain their energy through social interaction. Whereas when we're talking about shy, an introvert and an extrovert can be shy, right? So it just depends on the setting and the environment that they're in. But then if there's already an assumption that if you're quiet, it means you're shy. Then when the opportunities come, they're not going to think about you to be able to represent the team at an event or to do a presentation, because there is already this bias and assumption that quieter means that you can't do certain things that require you to be uh, the face or the one at the forefront. So those are some of the misconceptions. There are definitely a lot more. Like, people think, oh, introverts don't like people. Like, it's not. It's not about not liking people. It's just, in small doses. Sometimes you don't want to be around people all the time. And the whole work experience, it's built around networking, around social events, social hours, team building exercise.
Yes.
So then if you're the person who just doesn't show up to any of those things, team lunches and all that. So then you don't show up, and then they just assume, oh, this person is antisocial. Oh, this person, they're. I remember at some point somebody called me a snob. Like, they really thought that I was just too big to participate in their things, right? So yeah, and to me, I was just like, no, you guys just overwhelm me. Like, I don't want to spend my lunch hour, like the only hour I have, to be quiet.
Yes.
Now you want me to sit down and talk for another hour with you guys. Like, no, I don't want to do that. So yeah.
Exactly. It happens. Now, I guess going along with your answer, how important is personal branding for introverted professionals aiming for leadership positions? And what steps can they take to build a brand that aligns with their personality or outside their personality?
Yeah, personal branding is definitely extremely important, and I do feel like it's a game changer for introverts, because it allows you to position yourself to attract opportunities instead of constantly being the one chasing them. When you have a personal brand, when you have been able to articulate your knowledge, your thought leadership, whether it's in writing, through content, through blogs, or whatever way works for you, what happens is that people start to understand, okay, this is what this person does, this is what this person is good at. And you see that it helps you shift from this place where you're always the one applying for the roles or trying to pitch yourself for different things, and you're able to attract various opportunities. And this is a strategy that I teach because it definitely works for introverts in terms of positioning. Even in networking events, it's a strategy that I teach my clients. Put yourself in a place where you're bringing people towards you instead of you having to go towards people. So sometimes it's as simple as wearing a bright color, or you wear a nice dress or a nice outfit to a networking event. And then people come and see you and like, oh, I like what you're wearing. And that already helps you start the conversation. Because a lot of times, and I'm like this, and a lot of introverts are as well, it's not that you can't, it's not that you can't have a conversation, but sometimes starting the conversation is where it becomes complicated. And a lot of introverts also don't like small talk. Like, let's get to the point, right?
Right.
So, but we are great at actually sustaining a conversation. So if you're able to bring people towards you, whether it's networking events, through your personal brand, to be able to get career opportunities or clients or whatever it may be, that helps you at least take off that awkwardness of the initial, like, I have to reach out to this person. And then all you're really doing from there, because they're reaching out to you, is sustaining and building the conversation.
Exactly. I love that. I love the example about even being very selective of what you wear to events.
Yeah.
I think that is super cool, because it always gives you some small talk, something, because you don't know the person. Everyone is a little bit hesitant about making a comment, talking out of proportion. So I think that's an excellent idea, your choice of clothing. Especially right now with the age of technology, we're going to be doing a lot of the Zooms and all those things. But as people branch to in-person networking events, it's going to be also difficult for people who haven't been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
Like, how do I interact with a group of people
Yeah.
in a room that I've never talked to? So those things are going to also come into question. So what advice do you give to introverted professionals who aspire to leadership roles but are held back by introvert? They may think that, or maybe they think their organization may think that they're introvert, so they may not be the right fit. besides what you have recommended earlier?
Yeah, I would say the best thing is firstly, when I was talking about self awareness, but actually understanding that being an introvert is not a limitation. Because for a long time, I thought being an introvert was a limitation for my career because I saw the people who would get promoted. I saw the people who were moving up in our organization, and they were those who were louder. And even sometimes they may be introverted, but they put up a front as though they're like this they
Social
put on the
butterfly.
extroverted personality. They pretend, but and I did try that at some point, and it's extremely exhausting. I don't recommend it. But ultimately, once you recognize that being an introvert is not a limitation, then it helps you also embrace what you have to offer. Because if you're still in the mindset that I can't do this, so I won't be leadership material, or I'm not good at this, so I can't be a leader, then it's not just what's going on in the system or how people think that impacts your ability to progress. It's also your own thinking. So being able to recognize that you do have value to offer and that you do have amazing strengths, that would be my key advice to anyone, whether they are introverted or not. But really being in a place where you recognize the strengths that you have and you leverage them within your work context.
Awesome, awesome. And this is one of my final questions for you. What, I guess, adventures or projects you have going on that we should stay tuned for, whether we're following you on social media or meeting you at a conference? Is there something exciting that you want our audience to know about?
Yeah, I mean, I work with introverts, helping them land their first leadership role. And it's always an exciting journey for me to be able to see someone who has been an individual contributor, often for a long time, and has just kind of created this narrative that they can't be a leader, and being able to see them get that promotion or land their first leadership role in another company, like that's the joy of what I do. So I would say that's the most exciting thing I'm working on. If you are an introvert and you're looking for that kind of leadership or career coaching, definitely reach out to me. My website is weapply.ca, and I am on socials. So LinkedIn, I post on almost daily at this point. So you can connect with me there or on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. You can look me up, Lisa Appia, and I share content there on a weekly basis as well.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa, for spending time with us and speaking to us about your specialty and your passion, and also giving us advice, your words of wisdom. We truly appreciate it. Until next time, thank you for being here on our show, and thank all of our guests for listening and tuning in. Please don't forget to subscribe, share the link with others, and reach out to Lisa if you ever need any of her services. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Rejoice.
That is